guess this is part 2. And it's going to be longer than 30 minutes. Alright, so last we spoke about creating a crisis and actually creating a crisis that you can fix and then making somebody else pay for it. Probably not the most accurate statement as far as based on what I'm saying, but that's the general thought process. I think climate change may be man-made or man-perceived. I mean, because can you say that CO2 affects the environment? Yeah. I mean, that's just basic science right there. You know, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Any scientist or any human being that disagrees with that is just stupid. Okay? But the question is the equal and opposite reaction bad? I mean, because if you have an aircraft, you have thrust. Okay? That's the action. The reaction is the aircraft going forward. But that's a good thing. We want that. Okay? But that's the question. Is climate change bad? Or if it's good? Or does it affect what they're saying it affects at all? But a good example of it, you know, I'm a kid, it hurts sometimes. And there's this movie called The Incredibles 2, if you've ever seen it. Incredibles 2 is a really good movie. I really enjoyed the part of the movie where Jack, you know, fights the raccoon. That's awesome. Best fight scene ever. But the part of the gist of the movie is one guy got shaded by superheroes, and he took it to heart. He was upset about it. He was so upset about it that he wanted revenge. So what he did is he basically started creating a crisis by building a robot, and the robot was under his control, but his ultimate goal was to use the robot to cause a catastrophe to where he had the power to fix it through his technology. And then with his technology, he eventually was basically going to make all superheroes obsolete. And if you could, if I could actually put a movie as an example of what I'm trying to tell you, is that I could actually say you could almost mirror that mindset of that movie with the conspiracy that I'm trying to tell you about now. But that's Incredibles 2. I think the bad guy's name is Syndrome or something like that. Syndrome or something. But interesting movie. Watch the Jack Pack portion. You won't be upset about it at all. But yeah, China's already a leader and a model country for promoting and adhering to climate change. Considering that they may have the greatest technology for it right now, take it as not as good as Tesla, from what I understand, as far as range and the amount of power. But they have the biggest company, they have more reach, and I'm pretty sure because they have that ability in their, I imagine their prices are going to be lower than Tesla. They're going to be an industry leader if this comes to pass. So they can benefit greatly. And you name it. They can build charge stations. And if they hold on to the patents, they can charge every American company, every gas station, every world leader in this, and just make them, they could just basically stack up the money all, fist over fist. No problems across the world. And then on top of that, because people have signed a legal agreement to actually convert their cars, then they can know, or whoever's in control of it, the Paris Agreement, the World Health Organization, or whoever, or the United Nations, can enforce it. Fine a country. So now you're going to create other issues if that country can't afford to do it. But even if they don't, and China is all gracious and playing the good guy, they still going to be making money. Making money. Excuse me. Oh. I did find something that was really, really, really interesting. One, I found out the WHO, the World Health Organization, is run by African. I think that is awesome. Well, he's African. I don't know what country he's from in Africa, but that is the coolest thing ever. I did hear he was a doctor, like an actual doctor, so that was a little concerning, even though he has a doctorate degree, I believe. But being from Africa, I thought that was pretty cool, especially being in that position. The other side is I also heard that China's been investing in Africa, which is cool, but kind of weird for me, you know. And I don't see a reasoning for China to be invested in Africa or particular countries in Africa, but it's not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. But I also saw stories about African countries cutting their ties with their European counterparts, whoever funds their money, and basically they kind of have like a grip on the economic resources of some of the African nations, which I didn't know that, which I found was kind of interesting. But to hear that African nations are starting to rise up and say, hey, we want to take our own economic destiny into their own hands, I thought that was pretty cool. But at the same time, with this thing going on with China, and China basically investing in Africa, it sounds kind of weird. So it kind of makes me wonder how Africa stands as far as this whole issue. Are they part of the conspiracy? I would hope not. But at the same time, I could also see how they could be made the scapegoat because of where the African brother is the head of the WHO, which is kind of messed up if that's the case. In another part of it, I can also see where if Africa can totally get their hands wiped clean of Europe and whatever agreements or whatever they have going on over there, what happens after that? Is that it makes me wonder if it's a ploy by China to basically free up Africa from Western ties, and so that they can actually put their hands on Africa and just do whatever they want to do with them. I mean, of course, because when something's brand new, it sounds good, but for the government of China, they're not as moral as I would really like them to be. They're an awesome country. I mean, China, wow, that is one of the, well, I think every country is awesome on this planet, to be honest with you. I think we're all a big family, and we just need to get to know each other, you know. Now, what I like about China is, you know, of course, Jackie Chan's from China, Bruce Lee is from China, and if that don't make you think, yeah, basically I like martial arts movies. China created fireworks, which are awesome. We see them every year. You know, and I'm really thankful for China for even creating those. And I mean, Chinese restaurants, you know, the food is awesome. I don't have a whole lot of Chinese friends, but I mean, the one guy I do, I didn't have more than one. But the guys I've known have all been pretty cool. I mean, they're like some of the coolest guys ever. And I've enjoyed being around them. But this kind of just, the government concerns me. People don't, but the government does. But them investing in Africa, while not bad, I think it's really, really good. I'm concerned about China backdooring them, getting into their graces, getting them free of American influence, European influence, which is not bad, don't get me wrong, but the concern is them doing it and then China coming in, whether by force or by economic, how do you say, need. I mean, because once you become indebted to somebody, they have a little bit of power over you. And so I wonder what the end game is, or the real reason is that China is investing in Africa, and then looking at the World Health Organization in Africa up there. I wonder if there's a ploy for China to say, hey, look, people, the world's looked down on you, we want to pick you up. But I think China would want to take their resources in return, which is that's what they want to do. That's okay, but I wouldn't trust them in that regard. The Chinese government, that is. Let's see here. Yeah, I guess you could say if China don't believe in God, and they're a godless dragon, and they've been known to kill their own people, why should you trust them? The government, not the people. But if this is wrong, I apologize. But that's just based on what my understanding about things. Let's see. That was interesting that I've heard rumors about the virus starting in the U.S., which is kind of interesting because if I wanted to take over the world and demonize America and take away the power of America, I would make a virus start in America too. You know, especially in the situation we're in. You know, if you already want to demonize America and make the world just turn away from America, you know, why not start a virus? Oh, say we made it and then we tried to put it in China so that China would be the epicenter so that we could try to destroy China and because we upset. Okay. I mean, it sounds like it may be plausible, but why? I think China has more of a reason to start the virus themselves than us. Main reason, when President Trump went out of the Paris Agreement, he was like, okay, I'm out. But then, 2 months after making the official notice, that's when the coronavirus showed up in China. I wonder if that was a mistake. I wonder if it was supposed to start in the U.S., but for some reason, it ended up starting in China. It backfired on them. So, but it did happen a couple months after we officially, President officially took us out of the Paris Agreement. It was interesting timing. This leads me to the question, has the East already demonized the West? I mean, is there so much hate for the U.S. that the East, people in the East, specifically China, is basically saying, we want to change that. We want to destroy America. We want to put them under our feet and lead the world because we think we can do it better. Maybe you can. I don't know. But if you're going to attack the U.S. or attack other countries that are against your interests, I think that's kind of messed up. I mean, germ warfare is what I would call it. And then sneaky germ warfare would be probably a better name for it if it's true. And then on top of that, you can also use it to justify climate change. It's like two birds with one stone. Woo! Yeah, climate change, yeah. There are going to be more viruses because of climate change. Ooh, wait a minute. Just so happened we had another virus. The coronavirus just came up as cause of climate change. Guess what? We really need to get electric vehicles. Come to us and buy China and buy electric vehicles. That sounds like a good business plan. I did have another issue that was kind of concerning to me, and that was India. When India decided not to sell that, you basically embargo that whatever that drug we were looking for to kind of stifle COVID-19. That